Welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Abby and I have a Soul Salon, and you're welcome to check out my website down in the link below. Today I have a really amazing special video to share with you, and I have actually created it with my soul sister friend Maya, who also happens to have a nail salon. And I do have to warn you that this video is raw, it is candid, and it is completely impromptu. No makeup, no hairdos, and completely as we are. So try not to judge us, but please, if you do like our videos or you want to hear more of our content, please like, subscribe, and share these videos so that we can keep making these for you. And I would actually like to formally welcome you to Confessions of a Soul Salon. But anyway.
Neither do I. Look at me, Jesus. Okay, so I want to know.
Maybe we should just podcast it. We don't need to, like...
We can. Okay. Alright, so, well, first of all, we'll have a little listen to that and see how it sounds with both of us here. Okay, how do you do it?
I worked out on the weekend.
That's very good, clear.
Like, doing all this reflection of going away to the seminar, and I've realised every time I go into my mascara, my hair starts falling out.
Oh, mate.
And it's so, like, it's the issue because I've been getting them all.
Oh, mate.
And everybody, like, we're all trying to work out the products and we're trying to...
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I'd love to hear about this. Okay.
You need a toner too at some point, girlfriend.
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. Okay.
Oh, chocolate off tonight.
Yeah, that'd be good. No,
because I need to look at my roots. I need to do I was going to do them tonight.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'll do my roots and I'll chuck a toner on for you.
Okay, well, I can do your roots and you can do the toner. Okay, if you want. And then, you know,
I'll send them to have a bath or
you
something.
can sit in the chair. Okay, so I would love to hear all about... Well, this is recording, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so I would love to hear all about that because, okay, I have a lot of clients who have started to feel like they're going through the perimenopause and losing hair.
Yes, and that's actually a term that's been coined now, and everybody is now, whether it's a doctor, whether it's, you know, just a social group or whatnot, are all actually pinning everything back to perimenopause. But we're actually looking at an age bracket that's of about 10 years, so from 35 to 45, maybe even up to 50.
Yeah.
And that's actually such a broad range to actually call it perimenopause. So perimenopause is a very specific time frame.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm actually looking at people coming into my chair with these symptoms and looking across the board going, I think it's got to be a little bit more than that. It's either got to be environmental. So this is my process of elimination, you know, high cortisol, you know, chronic fatigue. Lots of people.
Can I ask, what is the high cortisol?
High cortisol is adrenal fatigue. So cortisol is like the stress hormone that gets put out, so with fight or flight. And when, you know, especially if you've got mums who are working full time and they've got children, and, you know, especially like single mums like ourselves who are doing everything like mum and dad.
Literally.
Every single day.
No,
so we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the day, there is a long-term high cortisol levels in the system.
Does this have anything to do with the light?
What do you mean light?
The sunlight and the nighttime.
Yes, it does. Like that actually
cool.
plays a part on the body's adrenals and the endocrine system, because the pineal gland is where you're taking your sunlight. And also the moonlight, so depending on, you know, what part of the cycle that you're in. But what we're seeing is in like these huge epidemic proportions is women are having trouble with cysts, with polyps, with heavy periods, endometriosis. You know, like I was diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 16 years old. Now, you know, we're talking over 30 years ago, and it was unheard of. And now, you know, we're kind of looking at it and almost every second person's got it, you
Absolutely,
know.
and I can put my hand up for that too.
So there's lots, you know, that we need to start, and doctors aren't treating endometriosis. They still don't know the cause. They've got ideas, but there's still no protocol. And it's basically hormone therapy or drug therapy.
Is it true that people will get the fibrous tissue just scraped out?
Not always. I actually have a fibroid at this moment in time, which cannot be operated on because of the location of where it is. So depending on your gynecologist team and the medical team that you have available. It depends on whether or not, just a basic cyst, yes, it can be removed. A basic fibroid, yes, it can be removed. But it depends on your situation where it's located in the system. So it's a really interesting thing that I've been observing. And fibroids, like when we actually go back to the roots, and if we go back to the old Indigenous traditions and a lot of the old ancient traditions of like these cysts and period problems and lack of like getting your periods and not being being infertile and not being able to have children and things like that, a lot of it was actually rooted in belief systems and patterns that was either genetically handed down or was environmental.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so now we're seeing it en masse. And what can we see mostly in our country is a woman is killed in domestic violence every 4 days in our country. Women are not being supported as single parents. I know, it works for men too, but when women are bleeding and they're still going to work and doing business as usual, their body's working twice as hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So our culture doesn't actually honour or respect the cycles of women. They just put them on the pill and send them off, in drugs.
We are very much running off adrenaline. I can feel it. That's why, some mornings I wake up, and I just feel like I'm right on the edge of getting sick, right on the edge,
And it's constant.
And my adrenaline pulls me through, and just like my sheer love for my family.
And coffee.
Let's coffee. And my drive, because I'm driven, and you are driven, and we want to have a future that isn't just about being a mum right now, because we also are aware that our children will fly and make their own lives, and that's a beautiful thing. But we can't just be mums.
No, but that drive and that focus and what actually gets us like determined through that is actually going into our masculine. And
that's where the issue is, because we're not supported.
That's
right.
So
we have to do it ourselves.
And when you actually look at other cultures, in old tradition times, they had the moon lodge, or they had the red tent, or they had places, in a lot of places where you can go and you can bleed for your week and not have to do your chores and your jobs, because that was your
literally time sounds like a 5-star holiday.
For your body to rest, and you weren't allowed to prepare food, and you were nurtured by the elders like in your family. So it was an intergenerational time, and women were honoured and respected because they were also the most psychic and most spiritual during that time. And when your body bleeds that much, and you are still getting up and going to work and doing your daily drag and doing all the normal things that you would normally do, it then actually becomes quite taxing on the body. And that's why we see like anemia is rife, and everybody's tired because their bodies aren't actually getting the rest and honouring their bodies like they should be through the cycles. And then of course that manifests as dis-ease like in the system, which is what we're seeing now. Polyps, cysts, fibroids, they're all unborn dreams and desires that are just not actually happening. So women have such a powerful centre that we are not honouring, and it is a cultural problem, it is a society problem where the women, and we talk about it and we see it on so many podcasts now, and finally it's being brought to the table as a conversation, is that it is a problem for women because we live in such an masculine society.
What I want to know is the competition between women. What drives the competition between women? Because
masculinity.
That's actually...
It's an ego thing. Everybody wants to be a hero.
Yeah. No, you just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. And you think about men, like in the tribes when they go hunting. There's always the alpha. There's What is it? Sigma, alpha.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't keep up with it all.
Like this competition is rife in groups of women that claim to be good friends.
Yes, I see that.
Who present themselves as super feminine and who have partners. So
who are supportive.
Yes, so the crossover is crazy.
I see it in my married friends too. Like there's a lot of conversations I cannot have with my married friends because they don't understand where I'm coming from as a solo mum. So I am actually very careful and watch my P's and Q's for that reason, because there is a difference in lifestyle and understanding and consciousness between them. And unfortunately there is also a lot of competition because I don't know if it's a here, like where we live thing, or if this is just like an everywhere thing, but I do actually see that competitiveness amongst each other because it's a jealous thing as well, who's got a different life, who's got this. And something that I really have noticed of late, especially in my work, is that there's a reason why I believe that women are getting their nails done and their eyelashes and, you know, like looking after themselves and doing all these things because they're trying to feel feminine in a masculine world.
Yeah, it's true.
They're trying to hang on to that little bit of femininity.
And
while they're like business as usual.
I'm, you know, like a bit of bogan,
You're not bogan. Oh my God, we speak it fluently, but it's not who we are.
True. We speak it fluently, but it's not who we are. But I hated when I had short hair, that I loved it, but I felt masculine.
Yeah, right.
And I hated that because I actually loved it. And I don't feel confident.
You rocked it. You looked awesome.
Thank you.
Then, honestly.
I don't feel confident doing that again because I'm a single woman. And I'm actually afraid that I won't look feminine. Which is silly because I love it on other people. Yes. And I know that's a very deep-seated lack of self-confidence
and belief systems too, like that we've been taught over time too.
And actually that is what it is, you know.
And I mean, you grew up with brothers. I've got brothers, so we were the only girls as well in our family. And I don't know about you, but I know that it was also well ingrained into me not to dress too pretty. Like I was never the princess, so I didn't have the pretty dresses and wasn't, you know, princessed after like with the boys, because that was too sexualizing, you know. So then as you got older and grew up, then, you know, you would become the pretty feminine, you know, girly, sexualized girl and the damsel, I guess you could say. And it was very, very frowned upon, like where I come from. So I have noticed that has actually made a difference as to the person that you become too, because then you're kind of suppressing a lot of
I was definitely always spoken to about how I looked constantly. Even when I looked really healthy and beautiful. And I mean healthy as beautiful, like
absolutely.
And as a young person, I always, it was comment after comment after comment, and now when I'm reaching the age and I'm not, it's terrible
because you're absolutely gorgeous.
It's absolutely
like,
terrible,
stunning. Like why?
But it's taken my whole, and everyone is in their own way, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it takes away this part of your life where you are constantly thinking about how you look. Because the people who are meant to love you for exactly who you are constantly making comments.
Yes.
And it literally breaks you every little bit. And you don't really notice until you reach a point, I think, where you don't have control over how you are anymore. Like, you know, the hairs that sprout up from wherever the heck they came from. And, you know, the greys that you get and, like, just everything.
And it should be celebrated. It should be celebrated.
And it's like, but you only realise how much you were robbed of that as a younger person when you don't have it anymore, and you're actually, I'm working a lot on absolutely loving myself at every stage. And you actually wrote something about this the other day, and I loved it because you mentioned in the post about the things that everyone should do every day.
Yes.
That one of those things is to learn to love yourself as you are, where you're at.
Yes.
Every day.
Meeting yourself.
And that is exactly what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, hallelujah.
And it is really good, and it has helped me relax about it. You know, like a year ago, there's no way I would have just like gone to Bento for dinner in what I'm wearing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's only Bento and it's only Devonport, and it doesn't matter. But like, I wouldn't have allowed myself to do that.
Yes,
and I'm finally reaching the point.
Yes.
1 year away from 40, you know.
That beautiful confidence.
To just not care. But yeah, part of me does feel like a bit robbed of my youth, and
it gets better though, because once you hit 40, you stop giving a shit.
One more year, baby.
I love that. And see, I was in, you know, a very like different circumstance too, in that the way that we were raised. And so because of talking about the competitive factor, I was raised as one of the boys, so then I had to compete with the boys to be seen, you know. I couldn't actually be the girl and be the standout because I was a girl. I actually had to be one of the boys, except that, you know, I had all the chores to do because I was a girl, but I had to look like a boy. And so it does create that competition, because that's where that masculinity comes in. So I've actually had to learn, and it's funny because it was only the other week, I had to get my tyre fixed on my car, and I took it down to the tyre shop, and I actually had a dress on because I'd just come from work and some lipstick, you know, and I went in and I hadn't thought of it. And as I went in there, I was like, wow, this is different. And, you know, they bounced around and got my car sorted for me, and like didn't even charge me for the service. It was incredible. And I thought, holy hell, like if this is what I'm wearing a dress does, I'm going to do it again. And, you know, it was tasteful. Like I didn't have like my boobs out or anything like that, but it was just the fact that, you know, I was a girl and I needed help. So I'm definitely going to call upon that, because what would I know about tires? You know, not much. So I'm definitely going to basically ask for the help. Now, I think that was a big lesson for me.
Because the other side of that is, we were taught that dressing a certain way to get something was negative,
and it's sexual,
and like, and you know, and it's not,
but I wasn't
like, no
sexual.
one should actually, no, exactly, but no one should actually feel like they have to do that.
That's right.
But your observation of the situation was that when you are free to be in your feminine, things from men can more easily flow.
Yeah,
like, and
that's
it's
right.
Not, and
they
it's
wanted
not
to help
a competition, like what you were saying.
Yes.
You know, and I know for myself, being
surprising,
being the person in the family that has to that does run everything, and just, you know, we're the organisers, right? We have to be.
We're mum and dad, you know.
Yeah,
male and female.
It's it can feel kind of a challenge to remember to put a dress on instead of like,
who's got time to put on lipstick and a dress, or whatever, like, you know.
Yeah.
How do you get pretty, like,
and like
when you're
blow
busy?
dry your hair? Like, what's that? No, I'm just joking. No, it's nice. We can do it sometimes, but
we're trying.
The logistics are actually the thing that make it difficult. The time factor.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's a lot to take on board, but, you know, it's also that support and being held. And I think that's something that I've also been learning a lot about this too is, you know, men want to feel like a hero. And I want them to be my hero.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know how to do that when I'm just in, like, this cycle pattern. Like, I have to unlearn and bring the steps back and go, okay, well, actually, guys, I don't know anything about tyres, fix my tyre, you know. And asking for those sorts of things to help, because without that, you know, I'm going to be stuck on the side of the road.
Yeah, we get in the headspace of needing to know everything because it's essential.
Yes.
And that's just not the way that nature was.
I know. So we're learning or unlearning. I don't know what you want to call it.
I feel like we're unlearning. I think
we're unlearning.
It's a good thing.
But we're finding
it's
a way.
hard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. Especially because there's nobody to teach us this stuff. And, you know, those generations that used to dress beautifully, and the men were men and women were women, and there was that, you know, difference between the genders, and men would hold open doors and women, you know, would sort of teeter in on their heels and whatnot. What a beautiful era that was. But a lot
there was
of those...
also a lot of misogyny, my God.
100%. And it had to change. There was no two ways. There was a lot there that needed to change. But
the basic manners of what you're talking about,
and the cultural expectation
of
that
anyone holding the door, you know, like, I think that, you know, when we went to the market and that man just like walked in front of like Ruby when we were in line, and it was just like filthy,
guys,
like filthy. He was like 48. I don't know, 58.
Old enough to know better.
Old enough to know better.
Old enough to know better,
and just
guys.
literally just walked straight past, straight in front of another person in line, and it was just disgusting.
And zero fucks,
things,
like, they just
and
don't
it's just
care.
like it adds up and up and up and up and up. But yeah, anyway, so that's like basic manners.
But everyone's become so insular, like,
basic
they're
manners,
so living in their own.
We need to relearn basic manners, and, you know, for the fact that, like, people will say that they're shocked when people use their manners, that's just, like, that's not good enough, is it?
That says a lot about our culture.
It needs to be normal,
And, you know, there's something to be said too, like going to the seminar for Dr. Gabor Mate, that in the audience, I think there was about 5,000 or 6,000 they mentioned, people, like, at that particular gathering, and the audience ratio was 60-40, 60% women, 40% men.
Okay, yeah.
And they weren't dragged there, like, kicking and screaming. I did notice that. And I did actually,
they chose to be there to learn and listen.
Yes, and they were active and putting their hands up and asking questions and taking notes and actively listening. So, I mean, I had a man sitting next to me.
Was the conversation directed specifically at women's health to do with the masculine and the feminine, the balance?
No, he talked about a lot of things, but what he actually said, and they had the statistics and the data on this, was that in 1939, I think it was from memory, that MS, for instance, the data that they had on that, which is an autoimmune disease, was 1-to-1 of the ratio of men to women. In 2025, the ratio is 1 man to 3.5 women. So what they were trying to show is over time, more women have actually been prone to autoimmune disease than men.
Because of stress.
Because of stress and because of the fact that they care about everybody else before themselves.
Yeah, literally, I cannot make this clear enough to people that I know and love. stress is the number one thing that is going to cause you ill health.
It kills more people than cancer. Like, honestly, yeah.
People just need to understand that, you know, and people who are in family situations need to really try and respect that, you know, of others that are stressed.
And I think in our country politically, like, you know, I'm actually going to go there and say it. Politically and socially, we actually need to get back and take a leaf out of some of these other books, like in Europe and whatnot, where not necessarily as a matriarchal society, but actually looking after the family unit. So caring for the parents who are raising children, so that not everybody has to leave the house and go to work all the time and leave their kids home alone because there's no daycare or social centres. So then the next generation of kids are coming through and they're lonely, they've got social anxiety, they've got no confidence. Mum and dad are burnt out from working on the hamster wheel all the time. And it's just a complete breakdown of the family unit. Yeah. Now, whether that family is a single parent family or whether it's, you know, a married family, it really doesn't matter how it looks. It's the fact that families are not supported or looked after because it's only the income that they're looking at.
Yeah.
So they don't actually value in our society families and people and what they contribute to the community as well. So it's just those who can go to work and what they can bring to the table financially as opposed to what everybody does collectively. And I think that's something that really needs to be looked at and changed, and that belief system is definitely something that's got to be worked on.
There's a very small percentage of people that can live happily with their parents, isn't there? You know, it's hard. It's hard to do.
Yes, well, I grew up in intergenerational households, and you know, there's it's not for everybody. I can see that there's lots of personalities and lots of things, and you know, the way that the financial system has evolved, you know, a lot more people are living at home for longer, and you know, multi-generations are living together. But and I understand that's not for everybody, but it's also such a difficult ride. Like, why is it a house, which is your basic birthright and necessity to put a roof over your children's head, is the most expensive thing that we have? It's, you know, so it's such a commodity. And then you add electricity and water on top of that. Like, come on, guys, where are we at?
Yeah.
You know, who are these fat cats that we're paying? Like, who do we owe?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
In what world do we live where somebody...
What do we owe? Why?
Somebody just rocks up, puts a fence around a piece of land and goes, you owe me now.
Yeah.
Like...
How do we rock...
It blows my mind.
That
you know, that...
For, yeah.
That's right. Who do we owe? Jupiter. Like, you know, God. Like, let's go there, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we definitely need to address because, you know, our country isn't that old.
Yeah.
But the things that we do and the way that we live, it's definitely not the lucky country anymore.
Still luckier than a lot, but yes, it's different. It's different. Yeah.
Bring back the nonnas.
I don't know, man. You know, I lived with my mum for 7 years. We lived together for 7 years.
Yeah.
First 5 years, we did a good job. Second, the last 2 years, it was really hard. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of that was to do with financial
Exactly,
pressure.
and that's what I was going to say. Once you actually remove that financial pressure, everything else, like, kind of, you know, falls into place. And
I tell you what, and I'm interrupting you, I tell you what, the situation that I know older people go through on a pension is ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Because
like,
we
these
don't
older
value
people are literally the ones that aren't with family, right? And they don't have that extra support. They're living off 3 meals a week that they get,
and no heating.
Yeah, it's real. It's true. It's happening, and it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible. So they can't even really be the grandparents that they want to be.
That's right.
You know,
and also the grandparents are still at work. Like, we have no daycare, we have no after school care, and we don't have generational care either because they're all still at work. You know, the grandparents are still working well into their 60s, so they're not
well,
even
and if
available.
you do want those things, you're giving your kids to, like, institutions or whatever that it takes a year to get into anyway.
Yeah.
Costs an arm and a leg. Yeah, and, you know, we all know money makes the world go round, but, like, it doesn't make much sense when you're working to only make ends meet. Yeah.
And, you know, even those that can step out of that and try to, like, change and earn more money, you know, the goalposts get moved and everything goes up, or inflation, or the interest rates, or however it goes. Like, you know, ask the guys who are earning good money. They're just they're fucked too. Like, it's not just us. It's a whole massive cultural problem. I think that's been embedded into our way of thinking.
And a huge
our
part
way
of that
life.
is the competition, you know, like the keeping up with the Joneses. I know that a lot of people they'll be in a high paid job, but they'll get huge loans to get the boat, to get the car, to get the house. Like, that has not changed. You know, that has not changed.
Joneses, who are they?
I don't know the Joneses.
Don't care, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Anyway, it's crazy. But the point is that it's all affecting our health. And we're all exhausted. I'm happy, but I'm exhausted, you know. I got a good life, you know. Things that we're movers and shakers, and we're making things happen and using our noggins to make things happen.
We're getting busy living, because that's really what it is. And you've got to find your own way of living. That might not necessarily be big, you know, fancy holidays and cars and things like that, but who gives a shit, you know? Having your friends over, going out for the day, taking the kids out, you know, going for weekends away, you know, all those sorts of things.
Making memories. And I think that if people do try to kind of remember to make those memories, your heart gets healed one little memory at a time, I think.
100%, especially when they're things that you didn't get to do as a kid.
Yeah.
And so you do kind of learn, you know, you live and you learn. And that's where you get to change, you know, where you come from to where you're going.
Yeah. And I think that, like, part of the stress that, you know, causes all these, like, perimenopausal symptoms and all this type of thing is just parental stress in general, like whether or not you're partnered or single. But push through, because that is what the kids need. And I have to tell myself all the time, like, that is what the kids need. It's never meant to be this hard. You know? It is this hard, though, and that's just a fact. Doesn't matter. You know, so pushing through, making sure we're still there, making sure that even though our kids get older and they get more independent, you know, we've got to try and still make those memories. Like, I read this thing somewhere, I cannot remember where, but it said, like, when was the last time you touched your teenager on the arm? Like, when was the last time you were just like, hey, going? Yeah. You know, that's all it takes, you know? And I think about that all the time. Yeah. And it's really important to have that physical and, like, dancing in the kitchen and just whatever. And whatever you can do, man, because some kids just don't even want to be touched, and that's fine. Oh, mine still loves the cuddles, but it's like, mum cuddles. You know, you just have to remember the really small things, you know? Remember the small things. And sometimes I think, like, oh, I'm going to make this plan, we can do this, we can do that. And then I go, hang on. You could just go for a walk with your kids, and you could come home and you could just make dinner from whatever is at your house. You don't have to buy the ingredients, whatever. It doesn't have to be fancy. And then you can just chat. You can just watch a movie. You know, all that stuff is already there. Yeah. But my head automatically always goes to doing something special. But that is special. And I have to remind myself of that. And everyone else, you should remind yourselves of that, because
that's actually a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
To just go, well, hang on. My kid just wants me around. That's why half the time they're stressed anyway, because we've got to work heaps. But they don't care. They don't care if we're just like sitting there. Like, half the time, like, if I need space, right, I'll just be sitting near them, and I'll say, I need my space right now. I'm going to listen to my audiobook. I'm going to, like, watch a episode of something that I'm watching on my Netflix or whatever. You do you, I'll do me. But we're here. You know, so you can still have your individual time. For me, that lowers my stress, right? Because this is, you know, but I don't know.
Oh, we go for a drive. That's our thing.
That's a nice thing. Yeah.
So then we can talk to each other without having to look at each other.
Yeah, that's a good
awkward conversations, but it's amazing that we can do that. Yeah. So sometimes you just got to go out for, you know, a midnight snack.
A something. Got to do something. Yeah. But yeah. The hormones, man, they're changing. Our bodies are changing. We've got to take care of ourselves and try and lessen the stress. And like what you were saying about this hair loss and everything. Now, you did say that you had some kind of, like, little thing up your sleeve for the hair loss.
Yeah, I guess it's like everybody's a little bit different, and you know, going through their whole makeup and what they do and what they take and you know, how they look after themselves. But I actually found, you know, going into that masculine is what's the most feminine thing to me, and it was the rose. Like, that's my medicine. Beautiful. That's my feminine medicine. and I'm such a rose girl. So I thought, okay, how can I fix this? So I went into the rose shampoo, like the hair remedy conditioner, you know, treating my hair and looking after myself. Taking or make sure I had good nutrition, like good supplements, you know, eating like my proper foods, cutting back on the coffee, although I've only been having 1 or 2 a day. So just making sure that you're doing all those right things. And then massage oil and body cream, like in rose, like everything was just getting back to the feminine. You know, wearing perfume before you leave the house, like going back and feeling like those, you know, feminine things. And it's funnily enough, like my hair stopped falling out.
Woo! Because you were stressing about that for a bit, weren't you?
I was like, and I'm like, this is my jam. This is what I do. And my hair's falling out. So like, how the hell do I fix this now? And I'm like, you know, so talk about, you know, being authentic and put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly,
like,
exactly. It's
and,
good,
you know, you can try all the remedies and you can take all the stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, sometimes like, what I've learnt is like your mind creates your physiology, and so if you are in that space and you're not looking after yourself, then yes, you are going to start manifesting something else. And so once I realised I needed to kind of get back to basics and start the nurturing process all over again, and eating properly and looking after, you know, the girly you. It's amazing what a difference it makes. Amazing.
And so do you think
who would have known?
Do you think that you will sort of formulate something that you can use in the salon on other people?
Maybe.
You don't have to expose the ingredients. I just mean,
no,
like,
maybe. It might be something that I will definitely look at in the future. Manufacturing's a whole other process. But,
yeah.
But
like,
it is
maybe
definitely
something. You can use as a little,
Yeah, I've got somebody I can
thing.
talk to because I do definitely think that it is something I might seriously consider. And
are you still doing...
Probably won't post this until I ask about it.
Oh, no. Exactly. No, this is the thing. You can't just do whatever. But, like, with the head massages, you know...
and stimulating the scalp.
The follicles,
and the blood supply to the scalp, you know. And also being able to stimulate the hair follicles, like the root growth, so that new hair will grow and that the hair follicle won't shut down. All of those things are really important things to take into consideration. The hair health, the scalp health, as well, especially if you've got a lot of hereditary hair loss in your family. It's definitely something to consider. So there is a lot to take in your hair history. Also, you know, what you take into your body, like what you put on your head and your skin. There's so much like involved in it. It's not just a matter of here, have a shampoo. Like
no, and the thing is it not like individual? Like you were saying before.
It is very much so.
The rose makes you feel the most feminine. That's your personal choice. It's something that you can do for yourself.
Yes, definitely.
And therefore, like, you know, I suppose it would be different.
Talk
for
about
everyone.
the vanity, right? I know,
Nothing
but
wrong with
no
that.
shame with that. No, it is. I think it's definitely an individualized thing because no two people have the same history. No two people have the same circumstances. Different types of stress. Different healing capacities. You know, different treatment styles. I've also worked with people who've had, you know, radiation and chemotherapy, so their treatment plan's different again. But it definitely does all come into consideration as to how you offer to heal, because that's really what it's about. Is actually how we're healing it, because you know, the hair loss is like the end of the timeline where you're like, oh, I've got all this stress to here, so now I have to kind of reverse it to go back to there. So it's definitely looking at the individual and what's going on in their world.
And taking care of our stress levels, because it is affecting our hormones.
And there's not enough
It is changing us.
Big time.
Too soon. You know,
and I don't want it to change us genetically either, because you know, chronic stress over a long period of time can actually create genetic anomalies.
Exactly.
You know, you become what you think. So it's definitely.
Oh, that's so true. That is
become
so
what you think.
true. I actually read a post the other day, the post about the whimsical things that you can do for yourself around your house. One of the comments was that every time one of these posters makes a mistake, she calls herself a genius out loud. I was like, that is good. And I did that. I did that today. Yep. I stole her a little bit of advice, spilled some shit, and I was like, you're a genius. And I didn't say it sarcastically. I was like, it's okay, you're a genius.
Love your girlfriend.
So So yeah, thanks for the advice.
No, we just got to, small steps in the big world.
That's exactly right, small steps. And then it feels achievable too, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can actually keep it up.